Hey guys, welcome back to another Angular tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to be talking about what Angular components are and how to use them. So you see I've written here is an Angular component, and while that is true, this is just a default app component which comes in every Angular project, and usually people use this as a sort of base component, and so we're not actually going to be doing too much in here. We're kind of just going to be loading other components in from here. So what a component is it's basically just a small piece of, like, almost like a small document, and you can load multiple components into other components which can go to other, and they can go all nested. And yeah, I'm just going to show you guys how to create basic components in Angular. So components you'll basically see components in every single framework which is coming out today, just because it makes life a lot easier, because it reduces repetition. Like, especially if one of the main things about programming is to reduce repetition, so by writing components that you can reuse, you're reducing repetition. So to create a component, let's just say we want a component which is we could just say something like a text box, or maybe just even like a text field. A component can really be anything, but we'll just say we want a component which has a title text. So let's just say ng generate component, and here's the path of a component relative to this app directory, I believe. So I can do something like ng generate component, we'll create a folder called components, and then we'll have something like title. We'll just have title component, just so it makes a bit more sense. So yeah, just run that command. We can wait for this, and you'll see it creates that. So now it's created this file, this folder, and inside of this we have the title component. Now, although it looks like it's just one folder, that's just because there's only one nested folder inside, so Visual Studio Code just does this on its own. So yeah, what this is it's a folder called components, and inside of that is a folder called title components. And yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open this, and we're actually going to ng serve this just so we can run this locally here. And yeah, while we're waiting for that, what I can actually show you guys how to do is we have our title component here, and we have this, and this is our home component. So as you know, we treat this like sort of the base page, and let's just call this is the home or base page. We load other components from here. So what I can do now is, now that I've created this title component, let's say I want to just activate it. So what we can do is we can just do app title, and I think it should be, we can actually find a selector if we go to the TypeScript and we do something like selector. So this is what it's going to be called in HTML. We can just write this and finish that off. And yeah, what this does is it basically loads in all of this HTML here. So of course we want our title component to be a title, so first of all I can put this in h1 tags, then I can just say title here, and of course we could give this some styles. Now it's important to note that since this is just going to be referring to this component, this CSS file is only going to point to this, it's going to be scoped to this HTML file. We can actually be a lot more general with it. So usually if I was writing in vanilla JavaScript, I'd probably give this something like an ID and then just refer to the ID. But since all we're going to have in this component is a h1 tag, it's just easier to do a simple h1 tag. So inside of this we might want to have something like a background color. I can just make this, let's just see, probably grey or black. So we have that. Then we want to make the font color white, like that. I think we can text line center, yeah, like that. And yeah, since we don't really know the size, like this automatically does take up the full page, but sometimes it won't, so we can just make sure we always get the width 100% in there. And I might as well just put a different font, just so we have a nice looking font. Okay, so here's our component, very basic. It's literally just a title component like it says, and you can see we actually just loaded it in. So let's just condense all of this, get rid of all this for now, and you can see we can now reuse this component, put this in multiple times, and we have a bunch of titles. So that's why people like using component architecture, because it just simplifies the entire process. You can see that this also has a bit of TypeScript as well, so what I could do is, if I did something like, let's just give this an idea of title, and let's also have a click listener, and let's just say title clicked. And yeah, I'm just getting a bit advanced here, but just to show you guys that you can also encapsulate JavaScript logic inside of here. Let's just get the element using regular document.getElement by ID, and then we can just do something like style.background color is equal to red. So now when I click this, the background color changes to red, and I've just encapsulated some more data in there. So now we can just have a bunch of these, each of these, and each of them has, oh, that is one problem. You're not actually meant to use document.getElement by ID. The more formal way of doing it is element ref, but I was just trying to do this to be quick. But yeah, I'll explain that in another video, but for now that was just important to note that we could encapsulate JavaScript inside. So yeah, now this is good, but another thing you might want to do is take an input. So this is the last thing I'll do for this basic tutorial. We'll just do that. So you might want to take in an input. So to do that, it's pretty simple. We have to go to the TypeScript file, we also have to import input like this, and then what we can do is we can actually do @input, and let's just have something like title. We can have this as a string, and we can assign it to nothing by default. So now what we can do, instead of just having a hard-coded title, we can take this import and put it into here. So now what we can do is we can actually give each of these their own titles. So let's just say title equals title 1, and let's see this, and we actually have a custom component now. So you can see how this could be useful. You could build like a single component where it could be reused a lot of times. Like, let's say you build in some sort of graph or something, and you give in data and it just outputs the graph. So yeah, that kind of stuff is really useful. And yeah, I'm just trying to show you guys why components are so useful and why people use them. So yeah, in future tutorials I'm going to show you a bit more basic, a bit more complex usage of components, such as passing data through components and other things like that. But for now, this was just the basics of components, how to use them, how to initialize them, and yeah, you can start playing around with it yourself. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a future tutorial. Bye!